All right, as promised, I am back for a second round of Biddy Bats, Week 10. So this is the lineup. Basically, today all the teams are in play. Right now, you have Minnesota, which is in the hot seat. They're playing Pittsburgh. Well, Minnesota's playing Houston. Pittsburgh's playing Arizona in a fantasy game. You got three more fantasy games. You got New York going up against Boston. The Yankees are playing the Orioles, or they actually already played, but Boston's taking on Chicago. San Francisco is taking on San Diego. And then Seattle is playing the Mets. So those are the four fantasy games. Now, the thing about those games is that two more teams are getting eliminated. And right now, it's between pretty much Seattle, New York Mets, and Minnesota. If the Mets lose their game, then they're done. But I think they're winning, and so is Seattle. So we'll have to see between those two teams who wins by more points. Minnesota is getting their butts kicked by Houston, and Pittsburgh's tied up right now with Arizona. So those two games are the ones to watch for the elimination. My guess, if I had to put money on it, would be Minnesota's out, and I'm thinking the Mets are going to be out. And can that even happen because they're in the same division? Minnesota might get lucky on this one. I don't even know how I'm going to figure this out. But anyways, those are the fantasy matchups. For the head-to-head matchups, you already had the Dodgers taking care of St. Louis. The Dodgers are safe for another week. They move to 5-5. St. Louis drops to 6-4. Then you're going to have KC versus Detroit. I'm thinking that game's... I think that game's on ESPN. Yeah, because the Angels-Braves, which is the next head-to-head matchup, that game's on the MLB Network. So those two head-to-head matchups are upcoming. The game of the week is the Angels-Braves because those two teams are atop the Sharp Curves division. You have Atlanta leading the South at 7-2, and the Angels leading the West at 6-3. Over in the Switchbacks division, you have Pittsburgh at the leading the North at 5-4, and Detroit leading the East 5-3-1, and that's before today's lineup. So, just to cover the whole divisions, you have the South and the West. I had that called the Sharp Curves, and then you have the North and the East. I have that called the Switchbacks, and I came up with that idea because pretty much all the apparel is done by Majestic. Is it Majestic? Yeah, I don't know why I keep putting Majestic Mountain, but that was the idea. Is that there's four ways up any given mountain, and the team that gets to the two teams that get to the top, one is going to reach the climax. You can't have both get there, but you have four teams in each division. Atlanta's at 7-2, St. Louis 6-3, San Francisco 6-3, and San Diego 5-4. So that division, the Sharp Curves South, is still in play. The Sharp Curves West, LA is kind of running away with it. They are 6-3. KC and Seattle are both 4-5, and Oakland's already been eliminated. So then you have the Switchback North Division. Pittsburgh's ahead of that, 5-4. LA, they're 5-5 now. The Mets are 3-6, but they might get eliminated, so they might be out. Then you have the East Switchback Division, which would be Detroit 5-3-1, Boston at 5-4, the Yankees 4-4-1, and Minnesota at 4-5. And that division's pretty close too. However, Minnesota looks like they might escape this weekend, but they're on the hot seat going forward. Although all those teams, those records are pretty closely together. So you never know. They might actually survive the weekend and do something over the next couple weeks.